What's up, Manizer? It's me, Sick Jim. And meeting white people was the best thing that ever happened to black people. And if you think that's racist or somehow wrong, don't worry, I intend to prove it using facts and logic. But before I do, let's talk about some of the racism that offends me, because I am incredibly offended whenever I hear a black person say, "We were slaves for 400 years. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. I used to just think when they said that they were bad at math, but it turns out, no, they are getting it wrong on purpose in order to be more racist, because black people were not slaves for 400 years. America hasn't even been around for 400 years. But black people have been slaves for a lot closer to 1400 years, and the reason why they purposely say 400 years is because the transatlantic slave trade started in 1619, before America was founded. So they blame the trade. However, what people seem to forget with their ignorance is the transatlantic slave trade was a shipping company, not a slavery company. They are basically FedEx. They don't make anything they ship. They just ship things that are already there. And that's why it's so offensive to hear 400 years. Because the Arab slave trade existed since the 600s. And that's how long you've been, and you were actually slaves before that. The African slave trade existed before the Arab slave trade. But the Arabs have enslaved you for over 4,000 years, for over 1,400 years and counting. So they're still doing it today. There are still 1.6 million black Nigerian slaves in Nigeria and by the Arab slave trade, and the Arabs are currently kidnapping black people as we speak and making them slaves. So yeah, the only reason why black people are not slaves is when they're in white countries. If you're not in white countries, the Arabs will enslave you. Not only that, but I have so many other points. Like, one of the reasons why, if you were black in like the 16 or 1700s, you would be desperate to get to America, even if you were a slave. And the reason is not because slavery would have been fun. It's because slavery in America was always more fun than slavery in Africa. And there's two reasons for that. One, fun fact about all the black slaves taken to America, 0 of them were eaten. White people ate 0 black slaves, which cannot be said about the black slaves that practiced cannibalisms. And that if you were a slave to a black Nigerian warlord, there was always the chance he was going to eat you tomorrow. And that fear just went away when you were enslaved to a white man. Another thing that makes white slavery superior is the fact that when white people, it is part of the Bible that most people don't understand the first commandment because it is different in a lot of Bibles. But the original commandment actually says, on the 7th day you shall not work, and neither shall your slave. So every single slave got 1 day off, and at least, which was not a thing in African slavery. And another fun fact, do you know that after British people colonized Africa, after they left, in less than a decade after the British colonizers evacuated Africa and went back to Britain, the black people started practicing cannibalism in less than a decade after that. and cannibalism still exists in Africa in many ways. And there's also importing black children in London for blood magic rituals. That there are some Africans who still believe in blood magic, and they also believe they need a sacrifice in order to facilitate this blood magic. And so they traffic slaves into London for a sacrifice. And that is happening also still today. So for these reasons and more, oh wait, I forgot. Got one more point that just puts the cherry on top. So my last point is that there is a TikToker or an influencer who goes around doing man on the street interviews, and he asks black people often, hey, would you move to Africa for $10,000? And they say no. And he says, what about 100,000? And they still say no. And he says, well, what about 1 million? And they say, well, can I come back? And they say, no, you have to live there. And very few people even acknowledge this. And this is a hypothetical situation, that it is a privilege to be in America. You are in the best possible country in the world. And if you were not taken here, then you would be desperate to be here, because America is just that great. So remember, I do this because I love you.